There's a story of a woman that I'm going to respond to the scenario from her perspective instead of each family member's perspective. So there's a woman who's married and her husband is hmm, jealous and insecure, is afraid of losing her. She has some children with some um, mental disabilities, some autistic issues and whatnot. A lot of dependency going on in her life, and instead of looking at every individual aspect of the relationship, I'm going to focus more so on just her perspective in particular. And I want to pan out for a second and talk about in in our lives when we have something we're trying to figure out, we get into the details. We start to break down why and how and explain, figure out and understand, and we're trying to be experts at what's wrong with it, what's really going on. And we kind of ignore the bottom line, and the bottom line is that it doesn't feel good. And so sometimes when you examine what you're going to do about something, you run into roadblocks that are the reason you don't change it because you get paralyzed. You start to say, well, I could do this, and I could do that, and when you reach those roadblocks, you stay there. They paralyze you. And then you stay there and you tell that story for years or months at least, but years in this case, where she's telling herself she can't do this because she's afraid of that. She can't do that because she's paralyzed herself with the story that she's been telling herself and the roadblocks that she has run into when she started to examine somewhere along the line, probably a long time ago, started to examine what she could do about it and felt like that wasn't an option because it was too scary to change it or to leave it, or she felt that her children they needed her, or variety of reasons. It really doesn't matter what the particulars are in this situation. And this is my point to you. It's not the particulars. It's not the details. And that's the beauty of other people looking at our lives to some degree, is that they can help in a panned out view. They can stand up high enough and look at the basics and see where you're at when you're down in it, lost in all of the details and what's in front of your face. And so the bottom line is that in this case, it's feeling stuck. And there comes a point when you get tired of your story. You get tired. It's like people when they say they're going to quit smoking or say they're going to go on a diet. And they keep saying it and then they fail and they say it and they fail and they say it and they fail and they say it and they fail. And at some point, they don't even say it anymore because they're tired of hearing themselves say it. And here's my point to you. Sometimes it's a matter of bottoming out. You're not bottomed out yet. You're not sick and tired of being sick and tired. You are not intolerant enough yet to get unstuck. You're not intolerant enough yet to change the situation. And that's okay. Make no mistake that as stuck as it seems on the surface, you are making progress in the platelets underneath it all. Underneath you, in some way or another, you are one step closer to doing it differently. And there's a tendency to beat up on yourself because you haven't done it yet and it's not changed, and you're just so stuck, and why can't you get out of it? You tend to beat up on yourself. You're changing, and it's really as simple as needing to bottom out. And if you haven't bottomed out yet, you can tell because you're still there. You haven't made the changes, or you're not ready yet. And it's okay to not be ready yet. But when you're ready, you'll know because you'll change. And the details don't matter. And I know it seems to some degree when you're talking to people over and over again about explaining the situation, hoping for help, you're really talking to yourself because it's not important that they understand the reasons in the scenario. It's important that you keep telling yourself out loud, even to other people, but you're really just listening to yourself because it's valuable, because at some point you'll just get tired of hearing yourself. You'll get tired at some point. So wherever you're at is okay. It's perfect for you. And it's a process one step closer, one day closer, one moment closer to being ready to make a change. The details really don't matter. It really doesn't matter how stuck you want to explain your situation is. You're just not ready to make a change yet. And that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. And so I hope that that helps a little bit in kind of panning out, and we can all relate to this in some way or another. That it doesn't even have to be that serious, like her family situation. It can be something like something you want to do with your life, or a work situation. You feel trapped because you don't want to leave because you're afraid you're not going to make money somewhere else, or any fear-based thinking. What happens is that you examine the situation and you run into roadblocks, and then you run into roadblocks, and then you stay there. You're paralyzed. But make no mistake, you feel paralyzed, you tell a story, and that's the story you tell for a long time. And until you're bottomed out. So it's a case of bottoming out. It's a case of bottoming out. And just be careful the stories that you tell yourself, because you were a different person when you started telling the story. You were a different person when you examined the situation months ago or years ago. You were different then. It's different now. Re-examine it. Re-examine it. Re-examine why you're telling yourself the story you're telling yourself. Things are different now. People are different now. So sometimes you're just used to telling yourself the same roadblocks and the same story, when actually that doesn't even really fit anymore. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, feel free to message me, and don't forget to like the group page, and the subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much.